Hey guys, welcome to another Therapy Thursday here with Legacy Speaks. My name is Sierra Hillsman. I'm a licensed professional counselor, certified clinical trauma professional, as well as a national certified counselor here in the state of Georgia. And as always, for Thursdays, I love having partnerships and conversations to normalize mental health within communities of color. And I'm just super excited to have tonight's conversation. But in the meantime, in between time, like I have mentioned, make sure that you are tagging Legacy Speaks on everything. Make sure that you're checking us out on the podcast. But let me just get out the way. Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Yeah.
I know, dog. I feel like it's been years, fam. Like,
Hey, USF to the fullest.
go Bulls, yo.
Well,
So, oh my word. All right, so let's do a quick check-in for the people. How are you doing? How are you feeling on this wonderful Thursday? How's your day been?
day's been pretty good overall. Hope everybody had a good day as well. Thankfully, one day closer to the weekend. But overall, everything's been good on my end. I'm in Maryland now. I'm sure you probably don't know. I moved up here for a new role, so I work as a consultant here for T. Rowe Price now. But everything's been good, aside from getting used to the weather. Because, still Florida born and raised. I love the hot weather.
Exactly. It's South Floridians, okay? I mean, even though you're from Dade, Briar babies, for real, all day, every day. But as always, but thank you for that quick check-in. But please let the people know who you are and a little bit about Financial Alley as well.
Sure. So, hey, everybody, my name's Zach Wilson. I work as a financial consultant. I have my Series 7, as well as a slew of other financial licenses, as well as my Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor's license. So basically that certifies that I can deal with the client's finances from in a retirement perspective from start to finish. As far as the taxation of it, investments, asset allocation, giving you recommendations. I worked as a financial advisor for a few years as well for Morgan Stanley. So investing as a whole is something that I love to do, to be able to help and give back to my people as well. As one of the reasons that I started the Financial Alley. Growing up as a young kid from Miami, finances wasn't something that we talked about at all. On a day-to-day basis, growing up with my grandma. So they didn't know anything about the stock market, anything about a 401k, what any of those things entailed as well. So kind of getting into the finance industry over the years has definitely been something I've loved and appreciated, but it's also brought forth a lot of conversations that I feel that as Black people, we need to have more of and have earlier on within our lifetime, especially with our children as well.
Awesome. Y'all, his resume. Did y'all hear a slew of credentials, honey? All right. But we're just going to dive right in. So, as you know, I'm really, as a licensed professional counselor, and even before a licensed professional counselor, I am really big on mental health. And what I find is it's like a lot of people forget about financial wellness and how that typically impacts us mentally and emotionally. Usually when it comes to debt, people don't really want to look at the numbers. They'll either practice avoidance or they'll try to suppress it or maybe even repress it. Or even like you had mentioned previously before, having that negative relationship because of the lack of exposure based upon the family that you've been in, or maybe even having like the difficulty to just be like, hey, I'm going to take or exercise the power of choice to be able to work through all of this. So how does somebody tackle financial planning from not only the number side of things, but also from like a mental and emotional standpoint as well? How do you help your clients work through that?
Oh my Jesus. I definitely think somebody's at my door. Can we give 1 second?
All right.
Somebody dropping off some mail. 1 second.
Okay, cool. All right, y'all. In the meantime, in between time, let me run through a couple of announcements while he goes answer his door. Make sure that you are tuning into the Legacy Speaks podcast, where you'll hear a number of conversations, not only with licensed professional clinicians, but also with just me. Like y'all have been really loving my Self-Talk Sunday series, so that'll be on there as well. And then you'll also hear amazing interviews with other entrepreneurs and friends alike. So I just absolutely love having conversations all together. If you check out my YouTube channel, the way that I'm talking now, that's how I literally talk every step of the way. Okay. And so all of that stuff is just literally recorded and filmed. Yeah. Hey, Trey. Okay, USF. I see y'all. All right. Hey, Fee. Let's go. Okay. Anyway, so make sure that y'all are plugging into the Legacy Speaks podcast, and we're back with our guests. All right. So run it back, Zach. How do you help clients with financial planning? How do you help them approach that whole concept and the anxiety with it?
Well, it's you have to tackle it from a lot of different areas. A lot of times, when I'm speaking to clients, it's the first time that they've even actually considered retirement in full. Of course, where people put away money, you invest into your 401ks, but you don't really know like what's the number that I have as far as retirement as a number that I need or would be realistic as far as my lifestyle or anything of that sort. So it can be really, really complex and frustrating for a lot of people because sometimes you do have to have conversations with older people who save for retirement and only have maybe like $50,000 to $100,000 in their accounts. And they're like, I'm so burnt out from work. I've been working 40, 50 years and like, I just want to be done. And so like, it's literally, you have to have really come to Jesus moments with a lot of clients and get to a point of saying, okay, I understand where you want to be, but at the same time, we first have to realize where you are and where your goals are. And that's the biggest conversation that you have to have is fighting the realities of actually what things are as far as the expectations. Because anyone who gets into the retirement, they tell you, oh, I want zero risk at all. I want 1,000% return. I want to retire next week. But it's like, have you actually started to put those plans together? Have you actually started to do a plan? Have you spoke with a retirement professional to kind of see what are the things that you value the most? Because everybody's retirement is going to be different. Retirement doesn't mean that I'm going to stop working at all. Retirement just means that I have enough money to be able to do the things that I want to do on a day-to-day basis. So rather that be working some part-time with financial literacy and helping other people, or if I want to go on vacation at the drop of a hat, you can do those things. So it's actually having real anticipation and conversation as far as the things that are actually going to be able to get done right away and kind of tapering off the things that people have as unrealistic expectations as a whole.
And I really love the approach that you take, especially when it comes to retirement, because traditionally, like you mentioned, we think of retirement as being something where we just quit our job, where we just stop working altogether. And I know with this trend, especially for us as millennials, FIRE. So, financially independent, retire early. But I hear a number of people are like, I don't want to retire. I want to keep working. I still want to do what I do. And so redefining what freedom looks like, whether it's like freedom in terms of utilizing money as a tool or a resource to be able to do the things that you want to do, or maybe even that spiritual freedom or creating this new sense of meaning from an existentialist perspective altogether. And so helping people, like you mentioned, identify and acknowledge where they're at, challenging those cognitive distortions or those ways of thinking that can hold them back, and then turning around and sending them on like a new plan to help them like along their journey.
Yes. I mean, a lot of people think that you need hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars to retire. I mean, and to think that you have to invest that much. Even just in my latest blog piece, of course, I don't do them all the time, but I definitely, when I feel inspired to kind of give some stuff, I try to put together something. But in my last blog, I was kind of speaking about 3 different people who had started thinking about retirement at different points. One was 20, one was 25, one was 35. The 20-year-old only invested $25,000, but his account was $218,000 by the time he retired. But it's like people have to really sit there and start to understand that compounding interest is one of the things that's going to serve you better than pretty much anything else. Being able to put money aside and invest that money wisely and have that money appreciate and continue to grow and compound over the years is one of the things that's going to serve you and benefit you years and years down the line.
Really. And even with that, because, sometimes, us, when we get our checks, we either are trying to hurry up and spend it, or it's just like, man, I done worked so hard for this doggone check. I ain't trying to, relinquish it for nothing. And I think along the financial wellness journey is just developing this trust, trusting the process, trusting yourself, trusting your ability to make sound decisions with your money. And as of recently this week, I've been talking a lot more about anxiety. And so a lot of people like to minimize anxiety and reduce anxiety to the fear of the future, when in fact, anxiety hits differently when we start finding ourselves struggling with the fear of the unknown. And so putting your money into a place where you don't know what this is going to be unless you are literally, I guess, being serious about what ETFs you're into or what stocks you're into or whatever like that, being able to trust somebody else with your money, that creates a whole lot of anxiety. And so how do you help clients work through that?
That's a very good question. So as a whole, the financial industry took a really big hit in 2008, the financial crisis, where a lot of our parents saw their entire retirement accounts depleted overnight. And a lot of that was due from rules and regulations within the government that didn't have certain limitations, predatory loans that were given to Black people and people of color as a whole, and all of those things that happened at that point. So I completely understand the distrust that people have within financial advisors or retirement planners as a whole. But to an extent, you have to get to a point of realizing that these are going to be the people that help you. So of course, there are going to be people in any industry that are shady or have shady practices who aren't going to do the best thing in your interest. But I've always prided myself in being an advisor for my clients. So I'm going to make sure that no matter if you're at the start or the finish, either way, I'm here to help you and give you all the information and all the tools to be able to make sure that you get to this goal of where you want to be. So we really have to break it down as far as to having that game plan of first in any advisory session. I'm just listening. I want to know about you. I want to know where you currently are, the bills, the debts that you have. Of course, student loans will be part of it for most of us at this point. Mortgage, car payment, car insurance, those are the type of things that you have to set out first off. But then from there, you really put the plan together and show them the way and the journey. I think for a lot of us as being millennials and growing up in the age of technology, we're used to instant gratification. As far as we see certain people with different things, or we see our peers that may be a little bit farther along in their journey than you, doing this thing or doing that thing. You're like, I want to do this thing. I wish I could be on the boat right now, twerking to Cardi B or something. So all these different things. So it's just like, within that, understand that with most things, it requires time. And you're not going to get rich overnight, but at the same time, the sooner you put together a full, thought out and detailed financial plan of where you want to be, the quicker you'll be able to get to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm here.
I like the breakdown that you hit because I work in the substance abuse space. And so usually one of the first assignments that I give a client is their life story. And basically the life story is a 66 question inventory, literally asking them to break down everything from A to Z. So their childhood, their relationships with their family, how their addiction impacted them, when did they start using, how did it impact their marriage, if that was the case, or whatever, what are your treatment goals and all that stuff. And so the way that you approach the financial process, or even like the onboarding process, is the same thing. What are your debts? Like, how are you managing your money? What are the concepts or the ideas that you were raised, because that's really going to impact and influence the way that you move forward. So I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, I deal with clients on all different spectrums. I deal with clients who've never had a conversation about investing. I deal with affluent clients who have $2-3 million in their accounts. And of course, both of those conversations will be entirely different. But for the initial part of the conversation is just getting to understand your client. And then whatever concerns that they have, whatever things that they're hesitant about, being able to put those things to bed and to show them that, hey, you may be concerned about these things, but they're all things that can be mitigated and worked on.
Like, you better build some therapeutic rapport. Okay, sure. That is good. I like that. Because like, even when we're talking about like financial trauma, that is a huge thing that I see. Especially if you're dealing with a client who put like a whole bunch of money into stocks and then they lost it. Yep. That's a traumatic experience. Or when they put money aside to invest, and then like the stock market crash, or maybe a family member stole money from them. Like, there's so many different things that are traumatic in nature. Or maybe even if you grew up in the hood and it's just like a struggle to even think about giving your money to somebody else, all of that stuff is trauma. And so for you to be like, hey, even though you've experienced this, it's okay. Just being able to remind them that, hey, we don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this, but if you do these key steps, we can get you to a better space, or close that gap in between like the ideal self versus where you are right now.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that sets out a lot of different advisors or retirement planners as a whole is being empathetic to your client's situation. There's no way for you to be able to help them and help them achieve the goals that they want if you can't put yourself to some extent in their shoes and understand where they're coming from. So I think that's one of the big things that I've been able to do as well within my clients.
Love it. And speaking of putting yourself in their shoes, right? Obviously, like you mentioned, you grew up with your grandma and everything like that. You are considered a first timer, like myself, like everybody else, like a lot of the people that we went to school with, right? And so, how do you help first timers, those generational curse breakers, those people who are literally like, I'm the one that's building a legacy for my family. You know, I'm carrying my family's last name. How do you help them work through that or establish themselves in that process?
So that's a great thing. I think one of the things that started me on that route was my blog. So within that as well, there's a lot of different tips that I put into my blogs, a lot of different hidden gems inside of them, just for people who aren't necessarily keen to investing or haven't really invested as a whole and don't really know anything. So I mean, you deal with people on a day-to-day basis sometimes where they don't even know what a stock is, and that's nothing to them. Is at their own set point in their journey, but you have to be the person to help them do that. And so within those first steps in trying to build wealth, it's making sure that you have some savings. Before you start investing, you should have money set away for a rainy day. My grandma always told me to keep some money inside your bank because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Once we get to that point of them having, I say, about $1,000 in savings, then we can start getting to the point of investing. So in investing, there's a lot of different things that go into it. Your age range matters a lot, but another part of it is your risk tolerance. Each type of investor is different as far as to the amount of risk that they're comfortable with choosing. Some people just want to be into well-known companies like Apple, Amazon, Tesla, you know, name brand companies that have been around for a while, that have name recognition. Some people are more interested in the smaller cap names, marijuana companies that are getting into the point of, you know, we're pushing for legalization on a federal level at this point. So they all come with different types of risks, but it's in those same conversations where it's, hey, we first have to put this plan together. I want you to have savings, but then, hey, we're going to start on a monthly basis to start contributing at least $1,000, $200 here and there, because one thing that we don't get is that time is of the essence when investing. More time you have on your hands, the longer and the more aggressive that you can be with the money that you put into the stock market. So that's one thing that I have to go through and talk with clients, because I mean, if you're saving for a home and you're expecting to use this money in a year or so, I'm not going to tell you put all your money into the stock market, because just like with anything, the stock market does have times where it crashes, has dips, and it comes back up. And so I would never want to put my client in a position where they put away $20,000 a home and the market crashes. Now they only got $10,000. They're looking crazy. So it's all about exactly their goals, their vision that they have for their retirement plans, but then also getting into the proper investments and teaching them about those investments along the way. I think that's one of the bigger things that more financial planners should do, is try to teach their clients about their investments at the same time as they're putting them into them, having them understand what they're doing along the way.
Definitely love it. Because essentially, like, you're teaching a man to fish instead of having them completely dependent on you. And like, even in the mental health space, we call that like codependency. So a lot of enablers will keep a person blind, or even in relation to like substance abuse and addiction. We'll have family members who would prefer the individual to be completely dependent on them, because their identity is rooted in having that person dependent on them. So if the person gets better, if the person becomes sober, who am I as an individual outside of that? And so for you to be like, okay, I want to make sure that my clients can walk away with knowing what to do. Granted, like, I would love for you to stay with me, but at the end of the day, you know, I just want you to be strong. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Empowering your client to live their life with or without you.
So that's one of the things that I get caught up in sometimes. Like, when I speak to clients, I'm just like, hey, I know we're having a consultation and everything of that sort. And I mean, especially with Black clients, I'm not gonna lie, guys. When I have Black clients, I just try to give my all. Like, I want you to know everything that I know, so that if any of these things come up and I'm not here, you know at least something about them.
Yeah.
I want you guys to know all of this stuff, and so I try to give them pretty much a run of the mill of all the different things that they can mostly experience, but also serving as myself. I mean, as a utility for them. I'm always here to talk to them. Even my friends, like my friends will have questions about stocks. They're, hey, I've been hearing about this or that. Like, what are your thoughts? And of course, I don't know everything, but on the things that I'm knowledgeable about, I'm always there to try to help my friends, help anyone, any way that I can along the way as well.
Y'all, Zach hit y'all with that disclaimer. Of course, I don't know everything, but you know, I got all the certifications. Just to remind you, I don't know everything, but I got the certification. I just know a little bit, a little something, you know, just to help you out. Love it. You better build therapeutic rapport and trust, right? Because in the midst of empowering the other individual, they go on to empower others and empower others. And it's just this constant community building. Absolutely love it. So one question I absolutely love to ask each and every person that I speak to is, how are you tending to your own mental health, especially as in what you do? Like, how do you tend to your own mental health?
So it definitely can be taxing at times. You're dealing with all different types of scenarios on a day-to-day basis. From anything can be thrown at me sometimes when I deal with different clients. It just depends on what a client needs in that moment. I definitely do say that I take my mental health days. I will not. I do not believe in sitting there and punching the clock when you don't feel yourself. You feel that something is off. You feel like you're stressed out. Maybe you have something going on at home. Maybe you watched the Derek Chauvin trial and you're feeling down about that. Like, we have so many different things that we deal with just on the Black level, and even microaggressions in work. So you should take that time to know and like get to know yourself to the point where you feel when things are off, and know that it's okay if you're not okay in one day. Like, it's perfectly fine. You're human. You have emotions. It's okay to have those days. So when you're not feeling your best, to actually taper back, take a day off, do something for yourself, love on yourself, and then you get back to it.
Yes, 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 yes. For y'all, like wealth, right? Especially as we're building generational wealth, that also includes physical, mental, and emotional health as well. Like, what's the point of having all the money in the bank account if you're not in the mental capacity to be able to do what you want with it, to be able to enjoy the freedom that comes with it? So I absolutely love it. Do y'all have any questions for the Zach Wilson? Let's see. Yes, come on, mental health day, Miss Britt. Trey said he knows enough. All right. Oh, look at all the USF in Tampa. Justin. Hey, Marcus. All right, y'all. If y'all don't have any questions, once again, Zach, please let the people know where they can find you and how they can connect with you. And then also run it down again what Financial Alley is for the people who just joined us.
Okay, cool. So guys, again, I'm Zach Wilson. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram, 305 about that. Don't judge my name. I made it when I was in college. None judging, guys. But my blog is thefinancialalley.com. So in my spare time, I try to write blogs to help Black people and people of color, to help with their financial literacy and help build generational wealth. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is ZacharyWilson7. I do have 2 R's in my name, ZacharyWilson7@gmail.com. My biggest thing for starting the Financial Alley was that wealth wasn't taught to me as a kid. Finances, investing, budgeting, saving money. Most of those things weren't taught to me. Most of those things were spoke of in my household as a whole. And the place in the environment that I grew up in, it was more so built on survival. So within that and moving into my later years as far as an adult, I understand the importance of being able to plan for financial freedom, but as well plan for retirement and getting to that point and how that will look for each and every individual one of us. So there's a lot of different things that we don't know because we haven't known them in the past. But as far as we get into information, I feel like sharing, community building, being able to give back to my people and help them on their journeys as well is something that I do want to have as far as one of the impacts that I make within my life. And so hopefully I do within that.
Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your expertise. I really do hope that somebody's able to take away some type of nugget. And y'all, please make sure that you stay connected. As I mentioned previously before, all of my interviews will be hosted here on IG Live, as well as the YouTube channel. And you can check it out on the Legacy Speaks podcast as well. So make sure that you're tapping into all of those resources. And just a disclaimer, okay, if he does not email you back, slide in his DMs on Twitter, okay? That's where he is at. All right, y'all. Don't hesitate when he doesn't email you back. Just slide in the DMs. All right. That's it.
Sometimes I don't check my email, but of course, I do want to thank you so much for inviting me on, for giving me an opportunity to come into your space and share a little bit of the wisdom and knowledge that I have. I think it's so great that all the things that you're doing, and I'm so glad to see your face again.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Well, all right, y'all. I'll see y'all later. Have a wonderful day. Bye.